Saturday afternoon to you, along with Mike Out of This World Mars and King Conrad DeLong. I'm Don Armstrong. So glad that you could ride along with us on the show. In the studio with us is Richard Tomlin. He's with Apex Auto Works, and this guy's got his fingers in all different kinds of pies. And I thought that this particular hour, I know that you went down to the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. Did you participate in that?
Oh, I wish. No, we were there.
You just went down to look?
Yeah, we went down there to peddle our wares, to sell some white pony, and then go back to the race. This was my 5th year being back to the 24 Hours of Daytona.
Interesting. So, I mean, how many classes of cars? This is a road race at a round track. And they race it part of the
with a road course. It's got a road course intersection.
Right. And so part of it is, what is it, on turns 3 and 4, and then you come into the infield.
Yeah, you turn off at 1. You turn off just before 1 to the infield.
Yep.
You come back on it right before 2. And then you have the bus stop on the backside between 3 and 4.
The bus stop.
Yeah, it's basically a chicane left and right. It's pretty rough.
Trying to slow them down.
Yeah, because the speed is astounding.
And what class of cars do they run there? Many classes, right? And they all run at the same time?
Correct.
That's nuts.
That's what makes racing.
Yeah, now they actually run four classes. They run the DPI, which is the full-blown prototype cars, and actually a Cadillac won that this year.
Define one.
Huh?
Define one.
Oh, wow.
It was an interesting year.
Yeah.
It was an interesting year.
Then they run the LMP2s, which is a
LMP.
Le Mans Prototype 2.
Which is a car that will race at Le Mans. The DPIs don't race at Le Mans. It's kind of an American thing. But those are the wild-looking wing thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like an Indy car with
the body
over the wheels. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And then the GTLM, which is the GT Le Mans class cars, which is the Corvettes, the Porsche 911s, the Ferraris, Ford GTs, BMW M6s or M8s,
M8s,
which the M8 won this year.
Correct.
The BMW, and then the GTDs, which are
the growing class,
more production-based cars.
Yeah, this is a class that some of your privateers are getting into, and that's part of the growth we're seeing in sports car in America is in that series specifically.
And what do you mean more production cars? Give me an example of the production.
The Lamborghini Huracan, Porsche 911s,
Mercedes AMGs,
GTs,
the GTs, the
Viper was last year, but they don't do the Viper anymore.
No, the Viper went out there. McLaren's been prompted to run that. They stick to the Michelin Pilot Series where they run theirs right now. They're growing. Sports cars kind of been in this recession for a while.
Ferrari
there wasn't a place to run.
Yeah. But you're looking at closing speeds from the top level prototypes to the GTDs. You may have a 60-mile-an-hour variance closing speed out on the high-speed part of the track.
On the straightaways, correct.
That's crazy.
It's some great video to watch. There's a lot of driving. There's a lot of what you would call 290 traffic at points is what it looks like. And you're driving through it. So.
And there have been some huge mistakes by people because in the two prototype classes and the GTLM class, they're all professional drivers. In the GTD class, they're required to have at least one, they call it an amateur driver, but
they have a school they'll put you through, and then you show up to run the Roar at 24, and you're legal to go race.
Right.
So it's very simple to get to that level. This year, it was a who's who of driving, from WRC drivers to former F1, former Indy. It was a great year for driving talent.
So a closing rate of 60 miles an hour, and you're closing on a car that is driven by somebody that pretty much doesn't know what he's doing and has no experience.
Correct. But most of the new ones
kind of like Houston traffic.
Most of the new ones have warning systems, so you'll actually have lights on the dash to tell you there's somebody on your left, somebody on your right. Rear-facing cameras.
Oh, well, that helps a lot when you're doing,
time.
1,000,000 miles an hour.
Yeah. It's kind of like watching you do this versus me doing it. You're a professional at this, so you're proficient.
I pretend to be a professional.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
And it has created some issues. A number of years ago, the Red Dragon, which was a real high-level prototype car, pulling up at speed behind the GTD car, and he anticipated the guy to go left, and the guy went right, and he T-boned him in the back, and they were out of racing for 3 years before they finally came back. And actually, the driver has never, I don't think he's returned to racing, has he?
Yeah, I don't know specifically on which driver that one was.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
That's crazy, and it goes for 24 hours.
24 hours from 2:45.
Oh my God!
We start on Saturday and end at 2:45 Sunday.
And it's been going on to this year was the 50th anniversary.
Yeah, and it's great for the drivers. It is not a great deal to watch as a spectator.
You would be surprised.
It's a party in the
record
infield.
attendance this year.
If there's what would be record attendance?
I did have the numbers. I'll pull them up here in a second for you.
No, it's okay. I mean, are we talking about 100,000 people or?
I would say it's like 59,000 people, but they're all camping in tents or they're there in their RVs.
And they're friends of the drivers.
No, most of them are not friends. They're just hanging out for the weekend.
Partiers.
It's like a
that's it.
Like you see a NASCAR event that happens, the day before everybody starts showing up and tailgating, for lack of a better term. It's the same thing, but it's 4 or 5 days of it here. It all starts on Thursday.
Oh my God!
What's the at Brainerd at the racetrack? What do they call that section that's full of the party animals?
I don't
At the
know.
NHRA thing, you've talked about it before, Don.
Oh yes,
The zoo or something.
Zoo.
Well, that's
There's some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy stuff.
The Porsche corral there is pretty impressive too.
That's where they take buses and cut the entire body off of it, leaving the floor, and then put a bar down the middle of it, and then parade through the zoo.
I think they were at Daytona.
Were they?
Yeah.
No doubt. Then they probably
vehicle,
drove the bus all the way there from Minnesota.
We did see some records fall this year too, though. Mazda took a pole time that broke a 23-year record from Pernilla Jones in the Toyota. So that's pretty impressive for a record to stand that long in motorsports.
Wow. Okay. I enjoy racing of all kinds, mainly automobile racing is what I'm referring to. I'll watch the ponies once in a while, but not very often. But when it comes to 24 hours of a race, I got to have a nap in there somewhere.
Oh, you can sleep. You can rewind it and DVR everything.
And you got to remember, now Daytona is lit. They put in a very good lighting system. 50 years ago when it started,
it was just horrible.
You had to depend on the headlights. And think about what were the headlights like on a car 50 years ago were not very good. Actually, what was it? The Penske Corvette back in 66 or something, something went wrong with it, and by rule they had to have lights on the front of the car, and they literally taped flashlights to the front of this car so it would be legal.
That sounds like a Don Armstrong move right there. That's what that sounds like. All right. Richard Tomlin, thanks for coming in.
No worries.
Apex Auto Works. Where's Apex?
We're down in Alvin, close to MSR Houston.
Okay. Yeah, I know that you have ties with MSR.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time there.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So
my sandbox.
Yeah. And your website is Apex Auto Works?
Yep. Well, we usually mainly do Facebook and Instagram. Not much web page stuff anymore for us.
Okay. I can relate to that. I understand.
So on Facebook, it's Apex Auto Works?
Apex Auto Works, yep. There's one in Apex, North Carolina. So if it says we're in North Carolina, that's the wrong one. Apex Auto Works, Texas.
Yeah, there's that.